Hi students, so let's add some lighting to our scene. Similar to a few lessons ago when we were working with our spotlight was most dramatic when we actually had a surface for it to project onto. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to add a plane to our scene and just put it in the very middle of the scene. Oops, let's get rid of that taskbar again. There we go. 0, 0, 0. Great. And I'm actually also going to move it down a tiny bit because you guys can see if we look in the side viewport that the teapot is actually sort of intersecting the plane. And that's because our path is also at y equals 0. It's at the kind of ground level, so to speak. So we have two ways that we could fix this, right? We could either move our path up, which will bring our entire animation upward because everything depends on that path, or we could have just moved the plane downward. Either way. So now our teapot is zooming along above a floor, I guess we could say that. So let's add a light to our scene, right? And we want to make sure we're in standard, and we're going to do a target spotlight. And it's good practice to do either from the side or from the front so you can see exactly how high your light is. So we click and drag, right, to create our light first and then our target. So when we did our lighting tutorial, briefly discussed how one of the cool things about a target spot is that it has two components. It's got the light source itself and it's got where it's pointing. So we have the ability to do some interesting stuff with that. So in theory, we could actually link our, if we linked our target to the teapot, the light will remain aimed at the teapot as it travels through our scene. So we can very easily do that by, first let's align. It's kind of tricky to figure out, oh, is it lined up? Is it actually on the teapot? Let's just use our align tool, which we have not used in ages. But click on the teapot, click OK, and now we can see that that's right there. I'm going to zoom in even further and make sure that we link that target. And this is going to be very, very delicate. What if we could do it from over here? No, of course not. This is one of those very tricky, delicate. So we have, what we might want to do is actually let the animation play so that the teapot gets out of the way. And click and drag that. So now watch. Oops, actually see that mistake? Look at that. What craziness happened there? I linked my plane to the teapot instead. Undo. Make sure that we grab there it is. Very, very tricky. There it goes. So now we can see that the spotlight, it's not totally on the teapot, but we can actually yeah, there we go. Close enough. Okay, so if we zoom out and we watch our animation and we hit play, we can see that now our spotlight is following the teapot as it goes. Pretty cool. All right. Let's see what else we're going to do here. Actually, let's give our scene a quick render and see what it even looks like. Weird. So a couple things going on here. First of all, if we see, I'm not sure why this is happening, so let's take a look. This might have something to do with the teapot scaling upward, actually. I think it actually is, because I think what it's doing when we linked it, I think it took the distance that was between the initial starting point of the point versus the teapot, and as the teapot is growing, that distance is also growing. So by the time we get to the end, the spotlight is not aiming anywhere close. So how do we even fix this? Well, we can do a few things. We can unlink, we can take the spot and drag it, the target, and drag it out from underneath, so now it's no longer paired with the teapot. One way we could do it is we could actually constrain the point of the target and do the same thing we did with the teapot, get it to follow the path over the course of the animation. So let's do that. Let's do it again so we can review how to do the path constraint. So with the target of the spotlight selected, we make sure that we're over in the motion tab, and we click on position, because position is what we are adjusting. We want to tell our path, or our dot to follow our path. We assign controller. We give the computer control using that line that we drew. And then we have to tell the computer which line we want. So we click add path, and then we click on our line that we made. And now if we watch, our target is going to follow along that line right along with the teapot, because both objects, the teapot and the dot, are traveling starting from frame 0 going to frame 180, so they're traveling for the same amount of time over the same path, so they're going to be right next to each other. So they're no longer linked, but they're following the same path. It's like taking a hike with your friend. If you and your friend start your hike at the same time, follow the same trail, walk at the same speed, you guys will both get to your destination at the same time. Same principle. All right. So let's take a look and see how that looks now that trying to get my view cube back there. Going to bring my, doing a quick render there. Oh, that's bizarre, but that's pretty good. So we have our flying teapot and we have our spotlight. We do not have any shadows though, so we want to make sure that we go into our panel and we turn shadows on. And also it might be worthwhile to make our spotlight a little wider, so we see a little bit more of an area lit up. So we're going to make our beam a little bigger, and we're also going to make that fall off field bigger. So now let's take a render and take a look at how that looks. So now we get two things going on. We get the shadow of the teapot as it travels along, so that's kind of a cool effect. And then we also have that gradual spread of the light as it moves. So that should be interesting. There you have it. All right, so let's add some, actually in the next video we will add some cameras to our scene, because we are going to actually render this out. I still have the link tool on. We're actually going to render this out from two different perspectives. We're going to set up two cameras. One that is actually sort of riding on the teapot itself, so we'll have that kind of first-person perspective as though we were sitting on top of the teapot and riding it around this crazy flight that it goes on. And then we will render out another perspective of a camera that is going to be stationary, but it's going to be aimed at the teapot, so it's going to follow its movement and pan across it as the teapot travels along its merry way. So I'm going to stop this video for now, and we'll see you in the next one.